What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It's time to continue my 2023 schedule preview / projected records for the 2023 college football season. And we continue them with the Miami Hurricanes. Here was the schedule last year for the Miami Hurricanes. You see the overall record for this team going 5-7 in 2022. So yeah, it was a disappointing season last year for this Miami team. You look at the schedule from last year, you look at who they played in the non-conference. They played Bethune-Cookman, then Southern Miss, then they played Texas A&M out of the SEC, and then they played Middle Tennessee. Ended up losing that game on September the 24th, got blown out in that game, and then, of course, they lost on the road to Texas A&M. That's a game they probably could have won. It was a defensive game, though, the whole way, but Miami still got some wins, from last year, so they weren't the most, they weren't one of the worst ACC teams from last year. Obviously, they beat Virginia Tech. That turned out to not be a good team from last year. Virginia wasn't that good either. Georgia Tech was a decent team, but they ended up beating them on November the 12th, so it seems like Miami wasn't the most disappointing team in all college football or in the whole entire ACC conference. Of course, they still had divisions from last year, but this is a team that, I kind of predicted to go to the ACC championship game last year. A lot of the, there was a lot of hype for this team, a lot of, production back for this team last year as well. But Tyler Van Dyke got hurt in the season, so that's kind of ruined Miami's chances. So, yeah, pretty disappointing season last year for this Miami team, but now it's the 2023 season. What is this Miami team going to look like heading into 2023? Let's look at the schedule for 2023, and you look at who they'll play in the non-conference. They'll play Miami of Ohio, Texas A&M once again. That one will be on September the 9th, and this time it will be on week 2 of the 2023 college football season. And then they'll play Bethune-Cookman here on September the 14th, and then they'll play Temple here on the road on September the 23rd. So the non-conference schedule, not all too tough. Of course, they play Temple on the road, but, Temple, I really don't know about them just yet. Miami of Ohio and Bethune-Cookman should be two games that they should be big favorites in. Miami of Ohio game will be on a Friday, and then the Bethune-Cookman game will be on a Thursday night, so that will be on September the 14th, and then, of course, Texas A&M here in week number 2, another big-time matchup here in the college football season. Probably one of those top 5 games heading into week number 2. It's not going to be a top 25 showdown, though. Both teams kind of had some disappointing seasons last year, but they should probably be better by this time. So, and again, no divisions in the ACC this year, so let's go game by game now. So they'll kick off the season on a Friday night against Miami of Ohio Redhawks, and then they'll play Texas A&M here on September the 9th. Going to be another interesting game. It's a revenge game here for Miami, and the game last year, obviously a low-scoring type game. Hopefully this year's matchup won't be low-scoring, but it will be a high-scoring game perhaps. And then they'll play Bethune-Cookman here on September the 14th. That game will be on a Thursday night. And then they'll go on the road to face Temple here out of the non-conference. A game that, could be a little bit tricky for Miami, but I don't think they're going to be, I don't think it's going to be a game that Miami will have problems in. They'll get a bye week after that game. They'll play Georgia Tech here on October the 7th. Then they'll play North Carolina on the road. Going to be an interesting game here against North Carolina on the road. A game that, could go back and forth. You never know. And then they'll play Clemson next here on October the 21st. Interesting game here. Miami gets this one at home. Clemson, obviously not a really good offensive team last year. Could that be the case this season? I think the defense for Clemson will be really good, but I think Miami, they're going to be well-motivated heading into this game. And then they'll play Virginia here on October the 28th. And then they'll play back-to-back road games against NC State and then Florida State. These are tough back-to-back road games for Miami. Obviously, NC State loses Devin Leary. He's transferred. He's gone to Kentucky. And then Florida State has a lot of production coming back, including Jordan Travis at quarterback. And, for Florida State, I think this is a team that, everybody's really hyping up on them. And a lot of people really think this is a Florida State team that could probably make the playoff. But this is a rival game. You never know what can happen. NC State will be a tough test as well, but this is back-to-back road games for Miami on November the 4th and November the 11th. Then they'll play Louisville here on November the 18th, and they'll end things out here with Boston College here on the road, and that will be on a Friday night on November the 24th. So The schedule not all too tough for Miami. Of course, they'll have to play North Carolina on the road, NC State and Florida State on the road. But other than that, they get Clemson at home. They get, some other hard matchups at home, including Texas A&M. So, yeah, the schedule not all too tough for Miami heading into this season. Let's not get to the projection here for this Miami team. And this is the scale I pretty much use for my projections. If it's a 1% game, that's a game where Miami has no chance of winning. 20%, about a couple touchdowns of an underdog will Miami be in this one. And then 40% games, these are going to be about a touchdown of an underdog for Miami. And then 50-50 games, pretty much games where they can go either way. Those will stay in the white. 60% games in the purple. These are games where Miami's going to be favored by about a touchdown. 80% games in the blue, pretty much games where Miami's going to be favored by a couple touchdowns. And then 90% games, these are games where Miami will be favored by more than 3 touchdowns in the green. And that's where we're going to start with. These are guaranteed wins for Miami in the 90% category in the green, and that's what we're going to start with. And I just got 2 of those on the schedule. It's the 2 cupcake games here on the schedule in the non-conference. It's Miami of Ohio and the Red Hawks, and then Bethune-Cookman. Obviously, these games will be on a Friday and Thursday night, just like I talked about it. I think these are 2 games where Miami should be big-time favorites by over 95%. I really don't see them having any problems in both of these games. They have no business to lose those games. We now go to the games where Miami is going to be favored by about a couple touchdowns in the blue, about 80%. And I got 4 of those on the schedule. I got Temple on the road, Georgia Tech at home, Virginia at home, and then Boston College on the road. Temple obviously is a road game, and they're a group of 5 team, but I have to put this one in the blue because it is on the road. I thought about putting this one in the green, but I'm going to stick with it and put it in the blue. Georgia Tech, I know they were decent last year, but I'm going to stick with that one and put it in the blue. If this game was on the road for Miami, I thought I would probably put this one in the purple. I'm going to stick with it and put it in the blue. I think Georgia Tech still has a long way to go before they compete in the ACC. Virginia obviously wasn't a good team last year. I think I can really clearly put this one in the blue. I thought about putting this one in the green, but it's a ACC matchup, and it's really going to have to be in the blue here. And then Boston College on the road, I think that will be a blue game as well. If you look at all these 3 ACC teams, they weren't good last year. Georgia Tech was decent, don't get me wrong, but I think Miami will still be about a couple touchdowns of favorites. And I don't have any purple games. I don't have any underdog games on this schedule for Miami. I think the rest of their games here on the schedule with Texas A&M, North Carolina on the road, Clemson, NC State, and Florida State both on the road, and then Louisville at home. I think these are pretty much games where they can go either way, like 50-50 games. I think these are games where Miami has a chance to really have a good opportunity to win some of these games. Now, the road games with North Carolina, NC State, and Florida State will be a tough one, especially when you're playing back-to-back road games against NC State and Florida State. That is a tough back-to-back in the month of November. I mean, at least they don't have to play Clemson in late November. That's the good news, but the good news is they'll get Clemson at home. They have to play back-to-back games against North Carolina and Clemson, but they get Clemson at home. That's the good news, and they have a really good shot, I believe, to beat Clemson probably this year. But Miami, I think, has a pretty favorable schedule. I mean, I think with Texas A&M early in September, that really helps them out, and you get that one at home. So I really don't know if, Miami. We don't really know how good Miami is going to be compared to last year, but I think this is a Miami team that can make it to a bowl game this time in 2023. Let's now get to the projected record. This is not my official prediction. This is simply a projection based on this schedule. So if you look at the games that they're favorites in, and those non-conference games, and then of course the blue games, and then the 50-50 games, you count them. The overall projected record for this Miami team in 2023 comes out to be 9-3 for 2023. I think this is a better Miami team than it was last year. The projection may seem high for Miami, but it could change. You never know when we do our predictions in the month of May. I think, it will probably change by that time. But as of right now, I got them winning 8 or 9 games this year. I think this schedule really sets up nicely for them to have a really good season. I know the road games will be tough for them. North Carolina, NC State, and Florida State. Maybe they lose all 3 of those road games. Maybe they could wind up losing a home game on that schedule. It could probably be Clemson. You never know. But as of right now, I think worst case scenario for Miami would be 8-4. I think it would be better than 5-7 compared to last year. And then 10-2, I think, is their best case scenario. Maybe 9-3 though is their best case scenario. You never know. But that's my overall projected record for this Miami team. Let me guys know what you think their projected record is right now. And let me guys know what you think about this Miami team down in the comments below. And stay tuned here for more sports content on the Lucas Ross Sports Channel.